it Herb Geller?
He went down to the diner.
I'm Frank. He's Darren, and this is The Blob remake for Jamie Hart. Darren, have you seen the original with Steve McQueen?
Yes, a while ago, but I have seen it. I've seen it on TV. I saw the original first. I remember going to the cinema to see this, probably in about, when it came out in '88. Around about the same time as I saw Return of the Living Dead 2 and Roadhouse. All those movies were coming to the cinema. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, all coming to the cinema at the same time. And this was one of the first 18-rated movies that I ever saw in the UK.
18?
It was at 18, yeah. It's pretty nasty in parts. I mean, and you've got to remember that on the back of the video nasties in the UK, the censors were kind of really quite hard on horror films and did cut a lot of them as well. But I think the Blob survived. It didn't get any cuts. I remember really enjoying it and then revisiting it. I think I watched it again about 4 or 5 years ago, and then watching it again the other day, I was staggered about how well it holds up.
Don't you feel that every time you watch this, you feel like you're watching it again for the first time?
Yeah. No, there's some absolutely. It's a great story. There's some amazing special effects. It shouldn't work. On paper, you read it. Oh, this slime chasing people down the street. No, it shouldn't work whatsoever. And when you look at old clips of the original Blob, it looks comedic. But in this, there's something really terrifying with it. And it's all down to, I think, you Frank Darabont in the mix here, Chuck Russell's direction, Tony Gardner's effects. It's a really good coming together of some talented people. And I think it's really special as a horror, one of the better horror remakes.
It's so funny because when we saw the original Blob, the one with Steve McQueen, it looks like they were just taking mounds and mounds of grape jelly and trying to push it through a door of a miniature.
Yeah.
Or they just put it in the road and people were just running away from it. They were just like, oh, it's moving. It seems to be moving very slow, But of course, the iconic scene which this emanated was it coming out of the movie theater.
Yeah.
Which was great, but you could tell that was kind of a miniature, and then they just shoved all that goo.
I kind of like that, though. I mean, like, some of the effects are just stunning. There's only one or two that kind of you look at and you go, yeah, that's maybe aged a little bit. But on the whole, the effects look terrific. And, when you were saying about the goo coming out the doors and all that kind of stuff, it was Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont. They decided that the Blob would be like, the look of it would be like the inside of somebody's stomach, and all this kind of bile and acid that you would get on the inside of a stomach is what's kind of rolling around and chasing people. And it's a pretty horrific image. I mean, look, I've even set my backdrop to the same color as it.
And wait till we get to the kills, ladies and gentlemen, because there's plenty
there's
here.
Some great ones.
It's hard to pick. Okay, so your best character or characters for the Blob?
Best character is Meg. I was never a big fan of Kevin Dillon. I think he's okay in this. It's interesting though that Chuck Russell had both of them wear hair extensions. So he caused them, and it was like they didn't want to do it, and he was like, no, this is the look, and consequently they both have these mullets throughout the movie. But
party hair.
Yeah. She starts as the girl next door and then has to come into her own as one of the heroes of the movie. And I think she does a really good job at it. Shawnee Smith, I think she's brilliant. And we saw her last year at For the Love of Horror. Yeah. She looked fantastic. I'd forgotten it was her. I always think of Shawnee Smith from the Saw franchise. And then watching this again, I was like, oh shit, I forgot she was in this film. But I think she plays a really good part. And, it's not often that you get to see the girl running around, particularly in an 80s horror movie, the girl running around with a machine gun, being all macho and saving the day. But she does it in this. And I think she does a terrific job.
I agree with you. I picked both Meg and Brian because they complement each other. You know, she was one of my few crushes in movies that I had, you know, and I absolutely love her. And anytime I get to see her, I just give her a quick wave, you know, and you know, for me, she, of course, she's not like Kathleen Kinmont, you know, that me, I turn into the Blob when I'm around her, as you know. Yeah, but so I did pick Meg and Brian. They're both strong characters. And Brian, you know, he's always been a loner, and then Meg brings him out of his shell and where he's trying to help everybody now, which I thought was a great turnaround for him. Yeah. And a great chase scene with the bikes.
Yes. Although he's pretty fucking useless on that bike, I have to say. I counted 3 times he came off the thing throughout the course of the movie. Once at the beginning and twice towards the end.
And 40 jumps.
He's always falling off that damn bike.
Well, look at the way he's around. It's all those damn trees.
But yeah, he should be like heavily crocked by the end of this film, because he was just sliding around on his arse for most of it.
All he has is a Band-Aid.
Yeah. And a mullet. Okay. It's that mullet. Yeah, it's that hair protecting
That's a helmet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a cape. It's like Spawn's cape. It just, you know, just protects you if you fall. You know, just not the face. Okay, your worst character.
Worst character for me is Dr. Meadows.
Okay.
He starts off as a seemingly sort of likable character, a bit like Keys in E.T., or you know, that kind of character. But then when you start to realize that there's an ulterior motive at play here, that, you know, it's all about the advancement of biological warfare rather than the interests of the townsfolk and that kind of thing. You know, he actually gets kind of consumed by the whole thing and turns pretty nasty towards the end. So for that, he's my worst character. Yeah, I mean, just imagine dropping that on our enemies. You know, it's just especially because we know the effects of what cold has on the Blob. Imagine dropping it in a desert area. Yeah. I mean, what do you start doing? Throwing ice cubes at it, you know, or something like that. And him, yeah, he does turn. You're right. He does turn into a bastard, like a real bastard. He is. He's a nasty piece of work, and he starts off so calm, kind of explaining what's going on to everybody and how this came about and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, he just flips. Fuck him. Yeah, exactly. He just like, fuck. Yeah, he turns on a dime. His face just went.
We've got to contain that thing now. Close it off.
Maybe that's just, you know, for the actor. He does a perfect villain. You know, being this sweet, you know, I'm here to help you. And then, but not right now. We're going to see what this effect on, you know, this entity from space, you know, germ warfare does on your whole town. And if you survive, we'll bring you with us. Fuck you. You know, stuff like that. I picked Reverend Meeker. Doesn't make any sense. And he becomes some kind of zealot at the end. And I'm like, do we really need that?
The Lord.
Yeah. You know, with the fake hand going up. Remember that?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
The Lord will give me a sign. And I'm like, what fucking sign? It looks like you have a tongue inside.
He's grown out a mullet at the end as well.
Yeah. He's all Donald Pleasance.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of the guy in not Cycle of the Werewolf. What do they call it now? Silver Bullet.
Yes.
The Reverend in that at the end of the film. That, see, I didn't really care for that end scene in there. I was just like, it was just like, didn't need it, did it at all?
Would have been easier, you know, if you know what he looked like? He reminded me of George C. Scott in Firestarter.
I bet, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, George C. Scott was a better actor. But it was. Wouldn't it have been better? Now let's talk about the ending a little bit, because he is my worst character, and I hated that, you know, fake. I always hated those fake arms coming up. Because you know what bothers me too is when it was in The Inside Man with Denzel Washington, and he was showing the ring off.
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer, and it was a fake hand that just came up out of the screen and then went down. That always bothers me. Wouldn't it have been a better ending if they found one of those crystals and a kid picked it up and it just put it in his pocket and said, "Look what I found."
You just need to see it, like, I don't know, on the back of somebody's car tire, or, you know what I mean, just like something
made into
like
rock
that.
candy.
I just thought that was a bit ridiculous, that ending there. But with regards to the guy who plays him, Del Close, he was in Son of the Blob.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So that's the sequel to the original Blob, and he played.
I've never seen Son of the Blob.
A hobo wearing an eye patch.
Full circle.
Yeah. That's the connection there at the end. There's a little in joke, a little,
And nobody got it.
No, apart from me after I'd read IMDb.
And Brandon Collins.
Yeah, he'll get it.
Love you, Brandon. Okay, best line.
Best line. It's the scene in the store when he's talking to the Reverend, and the shopkeeper interrupts.
I haven't seen you at the Sunday services lately.
Oh,
You want the ribbed
or the regular?
And is it the Reverend that turns around and says, "Boy doesn't need condoms; he needs a muzzle"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could do what Rocky said. Condominiums.
Condominiums. Yeah.
How about this for a best line? The men from GLAAD are here. They are here to show us how to keep our leftovers fresh. Because they all show up in their
in the ET suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The men from GLAAD are here to show us how to keep our leftovers fresh.
Yeah.
That would be for Scary, right? She likes a good bit of tup, as you say, right? She likes Tupperware and containers.
Oh, she does. She's obsessed with them. Yeah, she does little videos on plastic containers. She'd love that bloody thing you have. The what is it? The Stanley.
Oh God! Now it's evading you now. Okay, your worst line.
Worst line in this is around about 36-minute mark when Deputy Briggs says to Brian,
"Well, I'm in your face to stay. What are you going to do about it?"
Go ahead, hit me.
and licks his chin. This is the guy from RoboCop, the guy that played Emil, who ended up in the toxic waste. Paul McCrane plays him. He licks his chin. The fuck? Oh.
I mean, would it have been bad if he started unless he didn't put, better lick your chin than putting your balls on him. Okay, my worst line is coming from the general saying,
Chew on that slime ball.
"Where did we get this actor off of the set of Rawhide?"
Yeah.
Best kill. Now, I had a problem with best and worst, so
there is so many here. So I've got like Paul's death on the phone, and the blob drops on him from the ceiling. And Meg tries to help him by sort of pulling his arms, and one of them comes off in her hand. But that whole sequence there is like, it's almost like, we're starting to get into the territory where things are starting to maybe be really heavily influenced by the Thing. And it looks terrific. He's kind of, they make it work. It's this pink bubblegum, for God's sake. But they put this kind of really ghostly face underneath the pink bubblegum with the arms reaching out. And then the cherry screaming, and the cherry on top is his arm getting pulled off as she's trying to save him because the acid's melting through. It looks fantastic. So that was one of my favorite moments. Vicky in the car when Scott gets absorbed after trying to grope her. Sheriff Geller, we don't see what happens to him. We just kind of see the aftermath. The call is made in the phone box, and she can't get through, and the woman at the other end then picks up and says, "Oh, I think he's on his way down there," and all of a sudden his face hits the phone box, and you can barely just make out it's him. Oh, it's a great shot.
Doesn't his jaw like kind of detach from his head?
Yeah, it's horrible. And then finally, one of my favorite kills is because it's clearly a tribute to the Thing. Is the girl on the floor stuck to the floor, and then they pick her head up, and her head sort of stretches into that awkward position, which is a like obvious reference to the Thing with the head that's kind of pulled into two segments, if you like.
When they were burning him at the exam, it was already burnt at the examination table.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So lots of stuff to kind of get your teeth into in this film. There's so many great effects. Tony Gardner just did some great effects in the 80s. He really did. And Return of the Living Dead's obviously one of his credits, but he got fired off that. But yeah, he's a great effects artist.
I always liked where the kitchen worker was being pulled down the drain. And I'm just like, it pulled him down so much and so fast that all of them went down in that little space. And every time I see that, I'm just like, oh, man, because it's metal.
Oh, it's tough. Yeah. The feet are just being banded around in there and everything. And it's
another thing with
terrific.
the thing, right? With the feet being swallowed and going down.
Yeah.
And then also, one of the toughest ones is Eddie, the little boy.
Yeah.
I thought you don't kill children on screen. They did with this one, and we could tell that they just took kind of like I guess like a blob suit and just put it on top of him, or the stuntman. But his screaming and trying to get from help, and being pulled back, it's actually terrifying.
Oh, it is. I mean, a lot of this stuff. I mean, like you've also got the kind of hobo guy. When he's on the table and they pull it back, he's reaching out, and then all of a sudden you realize he's been dissolved from the sort of chest down. I mean, that's a terrific effect, a really great practical. The practical effects in this are just mind-blowing. They really are.
Yeah.
They really, really do hold up.
And some of them are funny. Like the Blob taking the general and just, he's trying to commit suicide or, blow up the Blob, and the Blob just smacks him like a fly.
Yes. He pulls the 2 grenades on the vest, doesn't he? And then the Blob slaps down on him. And there's really no effect from that, is there?
No. It's the thing is like unbeatable. Okay, worst kill.
I'm going to say the projectionist, when he checks the aircon unit and the cinema manager comes looking for him. He looks up and he sees the projectionist melting on the roof and is then grabbed by the Blob. And it's kind of one of the lesser graphic kills, I think. I mean, it's still not a terrible kill at all. It's just that there's so many really good ones in this that it kind of doesn't stand up to some of the better ones. That would be my only criticism. Yeah, I agree with you, because mine doesn't have to do with a direct contact with the Blob. It's indirect contact. It's when the hazmat guys are getting electrocuted and the pole slams on them. Yes. And I'm just like, I get it because it's the chaos and everything. People are getting trampled and everything. But you want to see new kills from the Blob because you start out fantastic. Yeah. And then you're still continuing to be, great. And then you're getting slapped around by it. And then people are trampling around each other. I get it. You're not supposed to have the Blob around killing people all the time. It doesn't make good for a good story. You're supposed to have some kind of aftermath of people being, caught in chaos. Yeah. But I just think, after seeing some of these great effects, like you said, Darren, seeing something so minor kind of doesn't take you out of it. You're just like, oh, it's like getting socks for Christmas. Right? Just, oh, okay. But there isn't a lot, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen The Blob, please see it because there isn't a lot of bad kills in this. No. Okay, best moment. I think it's Brian escaping from the research site on the bike, and you get that great. It's a really cool stunt. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the timing of it's really cool. So you get that bike jump with the Jeep and the helicopter in shot at the same time going over, and obviously there's no CG or anything like that. It's just a perfectly timed stunt. And I thought it was a really cool moment and one of the better moments in the film, that whole escape sequence. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, overshadowed by the fact that he fucking falls off his bike so much in this film. On gravel. Yeah, exactly. You could run away from army helicopters, but you can't stand straight on gravel? Yeah. He has a problem staying on that bike. He really does. My best moment is what you talked about before. Is probably one of the best kills in cinema history, and it's also the poster child for advertising this movie on the cover of the VHS, and that is Paul's death. I mean, what a way to enter,
cinema history with a death like this.
Yeah.
And you know, the face melting, the crying, the arm coming off, her reaction, Shawnee Smith's reaction to it. And then, because I think the cover for this, Darren, is that kill.
Did they use that on the cover?
They did it over here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you see his teeth. You know, like the lip goes up to the nose, and his eyes are all wide. I mean, if she did save him, what the hell would that be afterwards?
Well, he would just dissolve anyway by the time she got all that stuff off him.
Like in Deep Rising, right? When he came out of the tentacle.
It's like stomach acid, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the thing. It just kind of devours it. It absorbs people.
And gets bigger.
It gets bigger. Yeah.
It must be a slow, painful death, right?
Yeah, of course.
Except for the general. I would take that way out. Be like, hell with this. But I do say the blob would have a problem against the stuff.
Oh, would you want to see a mashup movie?
Could you imagine? And then they fall in love.
The blob versus the stuff.
Which one would you eat? Jello or marshmallow?
Oh,
I'll be team marshmallow. You could be team Jello.
I'm happily doing that. Oh.
I love going back and seeing the blob. I don't think about watching it, and when people bring it up, I'm like, it's one of those memories that you get, like, oh my god, it's such a great movie, but you don't think about it. I don't know why. I just don't know why. But it's a great movie.
It's also one of those films that, like I said, it shouldn't work on paper. And I remember going into this when I was a kid, like thinking, this could be really naff, and it isn't. And there is a remake that's been talked about. We did an episode on it a year or so ago. The remake is in development. But again, it's that task of getting audiences in to see something that's on paper sounds ridiculous, but is actually quite a terrifying film. But something you can have a lot of fun with as well.
Do you think the audiences are craving for something like this?
No one's craving a Blob movie apart from me and you and TSL community. But yeah, it is one of those films that I would like to see redone. So,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, as long as they do it practically, that's it. It has to be practical.
Not CGI.
No. There's no fun in that.
So I'm really glad Jamie is doing better. And I'm glad she picked the blob because she made me bring back some great fond memories watching this.
She didn't pick it. We picked it for her.
Well, that's true. But we knew that she liked this movie.
We don't. We're taking a gamble. We hope you like this movie, Jamie.
I think you do.
I'm saying
tell us. Does.
Tell us you do like this movie, Jamie, and we'll be happy.
Yes.
You're a great moderator for us. We hope you're getting better. I saw some pictures today online of all sorts of flowers and get well cards that you've received over the last week. This is our get well card to you. So hope you enjoyed it, and we want to see you back in that chat when you're ready.
Yeah, come on back. We miss you. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, best wishes to Jamie. As always, stick to the roads.
And the best of luck.
We'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.